here is the agenda for today. We are going to talk about the Pierre Arbour Foundation. As you all know, we have Catherine in the audience. You know her, she's the external award advisor. And we also have Nawar. He was the awardee of the Arbour Foundation for last competition. So he has a lot of insights. He's also the Arbour ambassador. So he's really trying to communicate what the Arbour Foundation is looking for. So he's a really good asset for us to have today. So in the agenda, we have the overview. So we're going to have an idea of what the foundation scholarships are, the eligibility criteria. We're going to talk about the selection criteria, and we're going to try to understand the process a bit more. Then I will allow to have a short Q&A. And then we're going to talk more heavily about the application process. What do you need, the transcripts, reference support letters, and all that thing. So if in the short Q&A you have questions about the application, just hold it because we are probably going to talk about that. And at the end of the session, we're going to have a final Q&A where you're going to be able to ask whatever you want until 12. We're going to be conscious with the time, so we're going to try to finish it at 12. So let's start talking about the overview. What is the Pierre Arbour Foundation? So the scholarship is open to students that are registered full-time, but the Arbour Foundation is only selecting a few universities. And I want you to understand this because this is not a whole Canada competition, right? So here I listed the universities that you will be competing. And every time that we are approaching a scholarship or a competition or a grant funding, it's really nice to understand who are you going to be competing with. And that also gives you an idea of what the foundation is actually looking for, okay? So this is the list of universities. They are all here in Quebec. They are Francophone and Anglophone. So we're gonna talk a bit more about that. And the foundation only will fund programs that are in 3 domains: engineering, computer science, and business administration. Okay, so here is the list of all the programs here in Concordia that they are allowed to apply for the Pierre Arbour Foundation. You can screenshot if you want and make sure that your program is there. If your program is not listed, you can send us an email to external.graduate.awards@concordia.ca and we can try to figure it out if your program is or is not allowed. And the values are a bit different from other competitions. For the masters and the MBA, it's a $20,000 for 1 year. For the master's scholarship, it's $20,000 and is renewable once. But for the masters in business administration are not renewable. So it's only one time $20,000. For the PhD, the scholarship is $30,000 and is only renewable once. Okay, so this is something that you may not worry about now, but if you get the award, the university will disburse these payments like 2 equally installments, one in the fall and one in the second semester, once we know that you are a full-time registration for that semester, okay? Since the master's and the PhD are renewable, the renewal applications are only for, of course, the ones that have already a master's or doctoral scholarship. And this is something important. This is not an automatic process, okay? So Nawar holds the master's scholarship for Arbour. He will have to apply this year again for the renewal. We're gonna talk a bit about this. But he will be in competition with other people that are renewing. So he has to also prove that he is worth it of this scholarship for the second time. Also, regardless or besides the benefits of the value, there's a lot of good things about the foundation that I think Nawar can talk about this in a few seconds. But actually, Nawar, you can go ahead and talk about this. I think you are the best person to talk about this.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. So, in addition to the monetary value that you will receive, when you fill the application, as you can see later on, there is a question about your French language level. And if your French language is at beginner level or like low level, you will have to take French courses. So the French courses are free. It's one-to-one course, so they will assign one tutor specifically for you. It's 1 hour Zoom session every week, lasts from September till June. But it's mandatory, so you'll have to take this session. And your performance in French language affect the second installment. So the money that the 20K you will get is in two installments, and on the condition that you do well in the French language courses, you will get your second 10K. But there's no exams, it's just like you have to follow up, do the assignment, and you will be fine. And it will help you a lot. Like let's say you have an interview coming in French. I had one like this. You can customize the session to fit your needs. The other thing is there's a mentorship program. You can select one of the member of the board to be your mentor. They have extensive academic and industrial experience. They have a strong network. It's a very valuable thing that you can do. My mentor is the CEO of the foundation. She had helped me a lot, like shape my future plan. Also, there are the networking events. There's two major big network events, one's in fall and one and winter, in which you connect with the other Arbor Foundation scholars, and this could lead eventually maybe to entrepreneurship adventure, could lead to multidisciplinary research, could lead to job referral. So there's way more benefits than just the monetary value. Back to you, Celia.
And you know what? So let's talk a bit now about the eligibility criteria. So are you eligible for this scholarship? As I mentioned, first thing that you have to check is your program, if your program is eligible to apply for this. And I have all these slides I'm going to share with you guys, so you have all the information. I'm going to go through master's, MBA, and PhD eligibility criteria. For those of you that are in a master program, you have completed at least 2 full-time semesters in a Quebec university in the past 12 months. This doesn't mean that you have to be in the program for 2 full-time semesters. For example, Nawar, he was in the bachelor's here in Concordia. So those 2 full semesters that he was doing as an undergrad, those were enough. So he was able to apply in the first year of his master's. Okay, if you were in another university, then maybe you will have to wait for these 2 full-time semesters, not in another university, sorry, in another province or in another country. You will have to wait for these 2 full-time semesters in your program for being able to apply. So basically, since the competition takes place in the summer, so the ones that you register fall and winter sessions proceeding to the summer semester, you are able to apply. Okay, so basically, if you're a master student, international master student, and you started your program in fall 2024, then you are able to apply. You are eligible to apply. The only eligibility criteria that they're asking is to be enrolled in full time, okay? And you have to be remaining in the program for at least 2 full semesters remaining. So if you just start in your program, then you're good. If you are in the middle of the program, at least you will have to have 2 full-time semesters coming after the competition deadline, because this is the installments, right? This is the payment that they will do. So if you are missing only 1 semester in your master, then you are too late. You cannot apply for the master program. They are asking for a 75% GPA. So this is here in Concordia, is a 3.22 out of 4.3. And this is the same for every program, I think. For the PhD program, it's basically the same. Have completed at least 2 full-time semesters in a Quebec university for the last 12 months. Again, if you just finish your master's and you're starting your PhD here in Quebec, then you're good to go. If you're starting your PhD program in the fall 2024, then you are good to go. If you are an international student, but you are starting your program in fall 2025 and you haven't done any university here in Quebec, then you will have to wait. Okay, I know this can be a bit confusing, but at your own time, just come back to the slide, make sure that you're understanding everything. If you're still unsure, you can contact us. You can send us an email to Catherine or to myself, and we can help you figure it out. Again, you have to be enrolled in full-time in a doctoral program. And they're also asking you for a GPA, cumulative GPA, in the last session of the current diploma of a 3.22 out of 4.3. And of course, you need to have at least 2 full semesters remaining in your program. These 2 opportunities, master and PhD, they are open to anyone, international, Canadian, whatever. The only condition is to have 2 full-time semesters already in a Quebec university. MBA program, it is a bit different. They are not asking you for these 2 full-time semesters, but they are asking you to be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, okay? They also asking you to be a full-time student in an MBA program. Here at Concordia, you also have the HEC or the Université Laval. GPA, again, 3.22 out of 4.3. This is 75% or higher. And again, you have to have at least 2 full-time semesters remaining in your program, okay? So if you have only 1 semester left, you are not eligible. With the renewal, as I say, this is not an automatic process. This is only for masters and PhD. And when you're thinking about the renewal, you must meet the eligibility requirements of your scholarship program. So if you're not, if you don't have these 2 full-time semesters remaining in your program, you're not going to be able to apply for the renewal of your master's. Okay, so keep that in mind. Probably I'm just talking to Lawar in the room, but just keep that in mind for the future. I know I have a question, but I will wait for the Q&A. So hold it in there. We're going to talk now about the selection criteria. This is a table that you can find in the website. It might not make a lot of sense to you, but again, since you are already starting to think about scholarships and funding opportunities, this is a must for you to go and read. Not only for the Arbour Foundation, but for all the other applications and scholarships, because each application will have a different selection criteria. They will be asking you for different things. For all the programs here, they will be checking academic performance, valid and recognized financial need, social involvement, leadership and research skills, and or applied skills. We're going to see what all of this means. But my advice to you is when you are approaching and when you're coming to write this application, go back to this, because this is what usually the reviewers have in hand and what they are going to be scoring in your application. So you have to prove in your application, with all the things that you're going to be writing in your application, you need to prove academic performance, a recognized financial needs, social involvement, and research skills. Okay, for each program is a bit different. For example, PhD, masters, they do take into consideration a bit higher the academic performance than the MBA. For MBA, the social involvement is higher. So it doesn't matter that much the percentage, but it does really matter that all of these criteria are in your application. So what are they looking for? So I'm just going to give you a very broad idea of how these things may look like. And then Nawar can share a bit about his application and how he was able to fit everything. So when we're thinking about academic performance, pretty straightforward, high GPA, consistency in your academic excellence, awards, scholarship, honor receive, the strong letters of recommendations can also talk about your academic performance, or even participation in academic competitions, conferences that you have been participated, if you are a member or any student organization. So that's all about the academic, right? The academic aspect. Valid and recognized financial needs. This might differ between people. These scholarships, they take a very holistic approach. It's not only about your transcripts and your CV, they are going to fund the people, the person. So feel comfortable with whatever you're putting in there, but don't feel afraid of really sharing who you are, where you're coming from, and what are your needs, right? If you have, I don't know, if you have to maintain your family, or if you're coming from a different country, only with your luggage and you have no other income, don't be afraid of saying it, right? Because this is really, they are funding the person, not only the research and not only the academia. If you have low household income, dependence on student loans, part-time jobs to cover the tuition, exceptional circumstances, if sudden loss of family income, for example, all of that you can write it down. However, and this is very important, if a student is receiving a scholarship of $30,000 or more, you are going to be completely dismissed because this foundation, they really want to help students that are in financial need. If you are having, I don't know, an NSERC doctoral award, then you're not going to be able to apply for this. So this goes for PhD, Masters, and MBA. So the cutoff for them is 30,000 per year. Social involvement. I know for many of you that are international and you're not very used to, in my country, we're not very used to be so volunteering with community organizations and everything. Maybe it's a good idea if you're already in Canada to start doing these things because this is very important for the Canadian culture. Really get involved in the community, not only in the academia, not only in the work that you're doing, but also how are you going to really help the community? How are you organizing different events, mentoring or supporting peers, different initiatives, wherever you can think in your field and outside your field. And lastly, research skills or applied skills. So this is straightforward also. Participation in research projects, internship, collaborations, papers, conferences, um, I don't know, techniques that you're using in the lab, how critical thinking, how skills, critical thinking skills you have, and all those things that maybe the support letters can write about you. All that thing will talk about your research skills and or applied skills. I think I talk a lot, but maybe Nawar can tell us a bit about his story, about his how he was able to manage these things also.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for these tips. I use these tips for my last year application, and it's really helpful. And you will know that when you reach the interview, hopefully. So two main points here before I give some examples. As Celia mentioned, they are taking candidates from Quebec-based universities. So they trying to find someone, they consider it as an investment for the community, right? So you need, they investing in you, they help you in your education and and the hope that you will give back to the community. So I'm gonna give now some examples. These on the slides are like the general guidelines, the best practices. The examples that I'm gonna give is, please look at it as like a case study. You know, my application could has its pros and its cons. It might apply to you, it might not. I'm just gonna give you an ideas of what I included in my application. So I will start with the voluntary part because this is the first question that you're going to fill. So I personally volunteered inside Concordia and outside Concordia. Inside Concordia, I was executive in the Concordia Games Club. I was also a co-op mentor. So these volunteering took around a year each. So that's like long-term commitment. There's also the Concordia Shuffle, the Concordia Explore Fair. These events happened like for 1 day. So look back at your history, see if you have done anything like that. You can include it in your application. Concordia has a Concordia co-curricular record. So do look into that. See if you are currently volunteering or of the last time if you volunteered. I attached it to my application. It's not mandatory, but I felt it helped. It's not a direct process. You have to apply to add some of your activity to that record. And in some cases, you might have to, the whole club, you need to apply it to have an application for the club that you are serving in to be in the record sometimes, and then you apply personally. Outside Concordia, I volunteered at two organizations that help prepare food and deliver food for people in need. And just by chance, one of the people in the interview committee had already volunteered in the same organization. So that was like a good luck for me. I also volunteered at work during co-op. There was a conference for the companies that are help organize, and I created and organized a chess club within the for the intern within my company. So those are just an examples. Could help you think about it for next year, for example, if you are considering to do more volunteering. work. I did some volunteer work back home that I mentioned, but I left it at the end. So if you are international student, if you have done something back home, I think it's better if you have volunteered here. But if you like just arrived, you have don't have experience here, I would mention it anyway, because like if you volunteer there, you can volunteer here. For the academic, as Cecilia mentioned, is mainly like GPA. But what I would say, if you have not very high GPA, that's just an advice. See what you are going to research on. In my case, I'm researching in machine learning. So what I did is I took 3 courses that I did extremely well on. So I have a course in AI, course in machine learning, and course in NLP. This is my domain. And I mentioned that in the application. So if you have done, so as you know, like let's say in computer science, you have back end, front end, you have operating systems. So let's say you are gonna specialize in cybersecurity. So if you did exceptionally well in some courses related to it, maybe mention it. So maybe show them you are good academically. Maybe also mention hackathons because like I think it helps because the practical side of your application also helps. I did mention one of the hackathon. If you got any awards from Concordia, I know there are internal awards. They are of small value, but it's worth mentioning. Look at your transcript. It will be listed there. Also, last thing I want to say, if you have done co-op, there's a co-op report that your manager should fill mid-term and the last term at the end of the term. And there's an overall evaluation. So the highest level is called exceptional. So if you have done well, do mention that. If your overall evaluation is not like very high, look at the sub evaluations because your co-op manager will fill a lot of criteria and see where did they commented at a very high scale, and you can mention it there. So this is basically it. Again, this is just an example to give you some ideas. And for the financial need, this is really personal. It's mainly student loan. It's mainly like if you have like a line of credit, let's say student line of credit, if you are supporting one of your family member. And actually, this is a very good point. We'll talk about it later. In the interview, they focus on that too. So like as Cecilia said, don't be shy if you're struggling. Like there's one main question only specified for the financial need as we're gonna see. So don't be shy. No one will judge you. It's as Cecilia mentioned, they want to know you as a researcher, as a professional, and also as a person. And they want to understand your journey, like if you have gone through financial struggles. So that was my case. So back to you, Cecilia.
And you know what? I really think what you say at the beginning, like they are funding, like they are investing in you and how you're going to contribute to the community, but also like the research and the person. So I think when you're writing this, you have to really like keep that in mind. Like you're asking money to get funded as a person and as a researcher. So that was really nice. Okay, let's continue understanding a bit the process. I'm gonna go through some things that are a bit boring, but you need to know. So the first thing that if you're interested and you're like, yes, this is for me, I have all of this social community, I have academic high achievements, but also I have financial needs. The first thing that I want you to do is to talk to your graduate program director, okay? Because the application, you don't have to send your application to Arbor or to us in the School of Graduate Studies. The first step for you is to send your full application directly to your department by their internal deadline. Each department, each faculty may have their own internal deadline, so I'm not going to talk about that. That's the first thing that you have to do. Contact them and ask for their internal deadline. So we at the School of Graduate Studies were asking each faculty to run their own internal review. And each faculty, they have to serve their candidates to the SGS, the School of Graduate Studies, by May 16. So I'm pretty sure that the internal deadlines for each department is way before that date, okay? So once as the SGS, Once we have the applications from each faculty, we also coordinate and we have a committee review that will select the applications that we will be sending to the Arbor Foundation by July 15. We have to do this because the Arbor Foundation, they ask us for a limited number of applications. So we call it quotas. We have a specific amount of applications that we can send to the foundation. We can send all the applications that we receive. So we really have to choose the top ones. Okay. So again, the only thing that you have to worry right now is to submit the full application directly to your department by their deadline, not by May 16 and not by July 15. And you do not have to send anything to the SCS, to your department, because the department will choose the top candidates, the faculty will choose the two top candidates amongst all of them, and then they are bringing them to the SCS when we are choosing the top candidates among all the faculties. Okay, so then we send them to the Arbor Foundation by July 15, and then the process in Arbor starts. As Nawar mentioned, all the selected finalists will be invited to an in-person interview. This interview process this year will happen between August 18 and the 22nd. Any finalists not invited, they will be notified by the foundation. So this is not a hands-on, that you will know what's happening. And the results are going to be announced by mid-September. Okay, so after all the finalists have interviewed, the foundation will select the ones that will receive the Arbor Foundation. If Concordia send your application to the Arbor, this doesn't mean that you get the award. You still have to go through all this process, and by mid-September, all the finalists will be informed of the decision. I will let Nawar talk about the process, how he lived the process in the Arbor Foundation, but I'm just going to mention that if you get selected by Concordia to be sent to the Arbor Foundation, this is something that we're going to start this year. We're going to coach you. We're going to try to support you as much as we can for going into this interview to understand the process and to try to relax you and calm you down a bit more. But if you have some insights about the review process, please go ahead.
So not the exact review, but the interview. I can talk about the interview a little bit. So I know it's a bit early, but it's nice to know how it worked. So as Cecilia mentioned, the interview is going to be August 18th until the week of August 18th. It's going to be between 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. There are two or maybe three this year selection committee. You're gonna go through only one of them. There will be 5, 6 people. It's a 30-minute interview, and like almost all of them gonna be asking question. They are very friendly, but it's very detailed interview. And the type of question to expect really depend on your application. So it's mainly elaborating on your application. So I will give some general tips. You are filling your application now, but you're going to be interviewed hopefully in August. So make sure you know your application because they're going to expand on that. They want to choose some part of your application and they're going to ask more. So make sure you understand fully what's in your application. That includes not only the letters that you're going to write, that includes your budget, that includes your reference letter that we're going to talk about later. So you need to have full understanding of what you wrote and you are ready to expand more. Something else, you need to understand what the foundation is about. So you shouldn't look at it as just a way to get funded. You have to understand their goals, their values, what they are doing. They have annual report, they have events. There's a lot of information on their website that you can look at. And you need to align your answers with their goals and their mission, which is helping the Quebec community. So whenever you write something in your application now, as Cecilia mentioned, whether it's the three questions that you can answer, whether it's in your CV, and whether later on your reference letter, like you want to receive it, you want to make sure that they collectively cover as many criteria as possible. The other thing that you need to know is very quickly is even if you're starting your master's in fall, like my case was, you need to understand at least at a high level what your research will be about. They don't expect you to have started your research, especially if you are doing masters in fall, but they would expect you to know what your research would be about. So what you can do later on, you can schedule a meeting in summer. That's what I did with your supervisor, and discuss different thesis topics and start doing some like preliminary research about it before you reach to the interview. They want to know that you understand what you are doing. They want to know that if they fund you, you can start and finish your master's. They want to know you can start and finish your research. And they want to know that your research helped the community. So keep that in mind for the interview and when you fill your application. The way it goes is they have annual reports. And in annual report, they ask each of their scholars, they did that a few days ago, what have you done so far? And they report it and they publish it online. And so they want to make sure they're choosing someone who is like up to the task. So you need to show that in your application, you need to show that in your interview. Again, it's an investment in you. Lastly, you need to last topic you need to cover for the interview is you have to know where you are heading. Like, what's your future plan? Is it to do a PhD? Is it to work in the industry? Is it to start your own business? So anything works. There's no preference, but they need to know that you are doing your master's for a reason, right? So that's the main topic. Again, there's no specific questions, there's no trick questions. They are very friendly, but they want to know more and more about you. As Cecilia mentioned, they want to know about you as a professional, as a researcher, and as a person. Last point I want to point is I had a gap here in my application. It is the time when I arrived to Canada. I had to put my academic aside, and I was responsible for a family member. So for a couple of years, I was just like working not even in my domain. It was like the first time I arrived, and they asked about this gap year, and they wanted to understand like what happened, like the academic, the financial situation, etc. So they want to know you as a person. So I just want to say again, if you have like financial struggle, if you went through financial struggle, do mention it in the application as we're gonna see because they will ask you about that. So the result would be like within a month, I think. And lastly, I want to mention that they will notify you about the interview 3 weeks in advance. So you have a lot of time to prepare. So that's good. And maybe there are more details, tips we can discuss later if we're going to do like an interview session for the people who are nominated. So back to you, Cecilia.
About the application, and then we're going to talk about reference letters and transcripts and all that. So, let's continue. So, Manal, you have another question?
Yeah, sorry. I still wasn't sure about that budget because mm, yeah, they just answered on chat. Yeah, that
Okay.
excellent
So I
support.
continue.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay, so the application process. So here is the website that you will see. Um, you have it here. It's pretty easy forward. You also have, you can find it in the website from Concordia. From here, you have all the information that I'm sharing with you guys. So read it. Then 10 minutes, 15 minutes, read the whole website, please. And here's where you can download the form. The only thing that pay attention is like which program you are reading. If you're applying to a master's, so you will see download here the application form for the master's program. It's not the same one for the MBA. It's not the same one for the PhD, and it's not the same one for the renewal. So choose the program that you will be applying, read the whole website, and download the form. Because I'm a nice person, I downloaded for you, and you have them here. I will try to make these modifications so you will have them for the PDF that we were just talking. So you will have them here, but this doesn't mean that you shouldn't go to the website and read everything that is there, okay? I also created this kind of checklist of the things that they will ask you for each of these programs. So for the PhD and the master application, you should have the complete application form, the one that you just downloaded. We're going to talk a bit more what they are requiring in there. And these following supporting documents. All official university transcripts, they can be in French, English, or Spanish. The letter of support from an academic sponsor, the letter of support from a non-academic sponsor. You will also need your CV, and you also need the list of publications if you have them. Okay, this is a bit different from the MBA. The MBA will also need to download the application form and fill it. And then they will also ask you for the all official university transcripts, all of them. So if you're doing an MBA and you already did a PhD before and you did a master and you did your bachelor, all of them in French, English, or Spanish. The letter of support from the last employer. So here we're not talking about academic and non-academic. This is the last employer, a CV. And here they are not asking for a list of publications. They are asking for performance reports. Okay. For the renewal, they have their own renewal form. So of course you have to complete it. All the official university transcripts, the letter of support from an academic sponsor. You don't need a non-academic sponsor anymore, your CV, and the list of publications. And all this, you will send it again to your department by their internal deadline. And I'm going to keep saying this because then we receive a lot of application in SPS and there's nothing we can do on that. So this is what you need. So basically, in the application form, they will ask you the information. They will give you the information about the guidelines. They will ask you the area of study, if you're from the engineering, computer science, or business, not for MBA. MBA will have only like the guidelines. They will ask you the transcripts. We're going to talk about this in a second. They're going to ask you for academic information. You will have to put your GPA, where did you did your bachelor's, where you did your master's and everything. And then these are the things that you will actually have to produce. You're going to have to write a maximum of 500 words about social involvement. And this is what we've been talking about. So here is the moment that you can talk about all your volunteering, all your involvement in society, list and describe any social involvement that you are particularly proud of. We're going to have some tips about how to write this. The second document that you will have to write is the financial situation. Again, be open. This is 500 words. Tell like straight on why you need this. How was your story? If Nawar, for example, was telling us that he had a gap in his academy because he needed to work full time, this is something that you can write it there in the financial situation, how happened, all that. You will have to fill a budget. Budget, sometimes it can be very tricky. Like if you need help with that, just contact me because they are asking, in my opinion, a very weird ways of asking for the budget. So just contact me and we can try to solve it together. And finally, you will have to write with personal statement. There's 700 words, everything like about your objectives, your career goals, why you did the master or the program that you're doing, your interests after, your interests before, how will you contribute sequentially to society? So this is huge in all the scholarships, but in Arbor, I think it's more important. So think about all the things that Nawar was mentioning before and try to put them here. I will just start with a personal statement. So I will call personal statement these three: the social involvement, the financial situation, and personal statements. These are the things that you will have to write. And these are all the tips that I always provide with the students that are writing these things. Highlight your strengths, okay? Own them. Here you have to convince these people that you are worthy of this scholarship. There's a fine line about being arrogant and being humble. And in my experience, most students are humble. They're not arrogant. I was like, well, I'm just doing a master. No, you are doing a master. Like you really have to believe that what you're doing is important. So you are the focus here. Everything that you have achieved it because of you. So really start thinking about all these things. Most of you are international. You overcame a lot of challenges to come here to Canada to do a master's or a PhD. So really highlight everything that you believe is a strength. If there's any weakness, you can also highlight it, but put it in a way of like, okay, this happened. I don't know. I had a low GPA, but you know what? Now I got focused. Now I know what I want. It was a different program. Now I know where my career is going, and I'm going there. So really proactive, how you proactively address all these challenges. Assess the impact of your activity in your academic and non-academic community. Again, this is funding people, and they're trying to move away about this idea of research or student that is focusing in their studies and they don't see anything else. So really think how your research or your program or I don't know, whatever studies you're doing, how they're really helping the academic community. And more specifically, for the Arbor Foundation, really think how your profile is going to fit with Arbor is looking for. So we already talked to you about a lot of this here, what Arbor is looking for, a whole person, do some research on the foundation, do some research on past awardees. We have an award here, but maybe you can think and you can see what other universities winners they have in the last year. Really, really take a time to really explore what are the values and the goals of the foundation. Another thing is like, how do you think you will benefit from the foundation besides the money? So, you know, good idea, like, oh, I'm super open to learning French. I want to participate in Quebec community, and this is needed for me. You're super excited about to networking events. You want to have a mentor that can shape your career, but also think what you can add to the foundation, right? Like, yes, I'm going to benefit from all that, but I'm also have all these skills and all these things that I can include in the foundation. Why are you deserving of the scholarship? Why you think that you might be the leader of tomorrow? And we already say it too much. What is the plan for your future? And how are you planning to contribute to Canada, and more particularly Quebec? Because as Nawar said, they are investing in someone that wants to build a life and wants to build a career here in Quebec. About the transcripts, where they are looking for all the transcripts from past and current studies. Again, if you are international students and you have a transcript from your home country, we need it. And we need the official one, and we need them to be in English, French, or Spanish. If it's in any other language, I'm pretty sure you already have the translation because you apply here to Concordia. But we also need an up-to-date. I'm going to mention in a second what is an up-to-date. For the internal competition, now that is happening May 16 or before the internal deadline of your department, we will accept an official transcripts. But if your application is selected, then you will need to submit official transcripts. And these official transcripts, sometimes they take some time. So I think it's $14 asking for official transcripts. So if you can, and you can already ask for it, it's a good idea. But if you want to wait after May 16 to have the confirmation from Concordia that we will send your application, you can also do it. We are going to be needed up to date, meaning that we need to see the courses that you're registered in the current semester, okay? So if you graduated in 2018 from a master's somewhere else, and you have that official transcript, that is okay. That is up to date because there was nothing new in that program. But we need to see that you are registered full-time this semester, even if you don't have any grades, okay? So we need to see that. And for those of you that are new and they haven't asked for an official transcript in Concordia, you will see a sign that says not valid if opened by students. You have my full permission to open it and scan it and send it, okay? So don't pay attention to that not valid if opened by student because we need you to open it and scan it. So that's about transcripts. Letters of support. I think I already have a question about letters of support. So for master's and PhD programs, we need 2 letters of support, one from an academic sponsor and one from a non-academic sponsor, okay? So the academic sponsor, of course, supervisor might be a good idea. or maybe a supervisor from your master's if you're doing is just starting the PhD. So someone that really, really knows you, someone that knows about your involvement in academia, someone that knows about your goals and your future, someone that can really speak highly about you. I think I have another slides about who a good reference can be. So I'm gonna leave it there. And the second one is a non-academic sponsor. So non-academic sponsor is someone that can talk about everything else that you have been doing outside academia, basically. So if you did an internship, if you did a MyTax, for example, and you were collaborated with a company or institution, if you were volunteering somewhere, whatever that makes sense for you and your journey, you can add it as a non-academic sponsor. For the MBA program, only one letter of support is required and is from your last employer. It can be from an organization or an association if the employer is not available, but it has to describe their professional performance, leadership, and basically you as a person. And for the renewal program, only one letter of support is required, and it has to be from the research supervisor, right? Because you are already in the program. So the academic reference, the academic sponsor will have to be from your supervisor. All the letters of support must be in the official letterhead of the organization and signed by the sponsor, with a mention of their title and contact information. I will stop because I have some questions that people usually ask me, but we have a section of like frequently asked questions. So who can be a good letter of support? Who can be a strong reference letter? So you really have to think about the people, that the options that you have, right? So let's talk about, I don't know, academic, non-academic sponsors. You may have 2 or 3 people around. They know you? Can they write a very high, good reference letters? And when we are talking about good reference letters, we are talking like a personal reference letter. Some reference letters that are a bit vague, or it's like, oh, Catherine is amazing teamwork. Catherine, she's very gentle and nice. No, that's not a good reference letter. It has to go more into examples. What Catherine did in the last year or in the time that she was working with me that shows that it's an amazing person. Really, really, writing a reference letter takes a lot of time, a lot of effort if they wanted to write it well. So allow them some time. So if you are planning to apply for this, maybe today will be already a good moment to approach them and say, hey, can you write a good reference letter for me? What else? Give them everything that they need. I think Nawar might talk about a bit about this because he has a lot of experience, well, with the Arbor, right? Like how you ask things. But one tip that I will send to you guys is like, if you're approaching the letters of support or any reference letter, make their life easier. So share with them your CV, the guidelines of the competition. What's the competition asking for? I always say the same, but you can blame me and say, hey, I have this workshop with Cecilia. She offered me, like, I can send you these bullet points. I was like, I can offer you these tips about me that you can add in the reference letter. So all these ideas that you can offer them to make their life easier, it's a good approach. And the only thing that I will say here is if you get the award, let your referees know, because maybe you will be applying to FRQ, maybe you will be applying to something else in the future, and this shows that you have, you can have a good relationship with them. And even if you don't get the award, let them know, because if they wrote a good reference letter, they put the time. And award, go to you.
Perfect. Thank you. Very useful tips that I actually took into, like, I use these tips to get my 2 letters. I just want to say a few comments here. Compared to NSERC, so NSERC asks for reference letter, but NSERC doesn't let you see the reference letter. So what NSERC does, for example, you just add your email, the sponsor's emails, and they will fill it. So you don't know if they write good letter or not. What distinguish Arbor Foundation is you can actually see the letter and you can use that to your advantage. What I noticed is, so I didn't have this issue, but I was looking at someone, my friend reference lesson. What I noticed is some professor at the university will have a template on LaTeX or a Word document, and they will just replace your name and do some changes. I once read there is a test that you can do to see if it's a good reference letter or not. If you replace your name and put your best friend names in it, and if it still works, it means it's a bad reference letter because it means it's so generic. So it really has to be specialized for you. So what I would say, as Celia mentioned, you can send your CV, and what I would say also, uh, uh, make them understand it's not the same reference letter that you would apply for master's degree, in a sense that there's not a lot of emphasis when you apply to get into the degree, right? It's easier to get into the master's than to get the scholarship. So make them understand it's very competitive. There's no quota per university. They chose the Concordia will only send 6 or 7 applications, so it has to be very a strong letter. So make them understand this point. It's not to apply for masters, it's to apply for a very competitive scholarship. The second thing is, as Cecilia mentioned, like help them help you. So look at the criteria that we mentioned earlier and maybe add some bullet points. Like you know the supervisor, you did some work with them. Maybe you cannot tell them what to write, obviously, but you can maybe give them hints. Oh, like we did this project. Oh, I did this research. I did this competition with like one of my classes has competition, for example. So like prepare bulletin like some points and send them to them. They will eventually like obviously write the letter and they will make a decision. But you can like like try and make it easier for them. What I would say also, when you receive the letter, if you are not happy with it, because I told you you can look at it, I would, it depends on your relationship, but I would might very politely ask for, if it's not very good, if it doesn't fit the criteria, I would very politely ask for a second iteration. That's my personal opinion. Just, I didn't have to do that, but that's what I would do if I received generic letter. And if you have more than one reference letter, you can ask maybe, I don't know, just an idea, ask for both of them and then choose the best one. It's up to you because you are the one who gonna select like what to put in your application. Just an idea that I thought. In my case, I had extensive experience with my supervisor, and she wrote me a very strong and very personalized letter. Like it's only designed for an award. You cannot. There's no generic term at all. So that's one thing. The other thing I want to say is this is something you should start with it ASAP because now it's the end of term. There's like a project submissions, grading, preparing for the final exam. So your academic sponsor would be very busy. So don't wait till the end. Send it from now. You could maybe try, if you are close with them, try to schedule like a 10-minute Zoom interview, talk to them about the foundation, their goals, their criteria, how difficult it is. Like, put an emphasis that this is not a regular recommendation letter. It should be really strong. For my academic letter last year, I had some difficulty with the letterhead because you need the letterhead of the organization. My co-op supervisor who wrote me the letter, he's a senior software developer, so he works mainly internally within the team, so he doesn't have communication with the customer. If you work in agile team, there's like a product owner, product manager. So he didn't use it before because all his communication mainly internal. And when I asked about him about the letterhead, he had to ask the HR. The HR had some few days off, so it took me like a whole week just to get the letterhead. And initially, he said like, okay, you have my professional email, my phone number, my like company positions. You don't need the letterhead. I was like, no, they really need it. So you might face some difficulty there. It's expected. It might be straightforward, depend on what position your supervisor hold, but do insist on getting the letterhead. It's easier with Concordia because they all have it as a Concordia letterhead. It might be a bit more difficult with the industry. Depends where is your supervisor, like what position he's taking. And my supervisor works in a big company in Montreal. It's not like a startup or anything, but they have their own regulations. So like be insistent, like try to get the letterhead, try to convince him. Again, this is a very competitive scholarship and everything matters. So yeah, this is the general idea. You can look online to see what people write in um, reference letter. You're obviously not the one writing it, but it can like give you ideas and what it should be there. Because if you receive a if you receive a weak recommendation letter, it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility to make it stronger. Maybe ask for a second iteration, or maybe ask for a different academic sponsor to send you the letter. And again, it's not, please, like, again, I'm gonna reiterate on this. When you apply for a master's, you need a recommendation letter. Here, it really has to be customized for you. It really has to describe your journey. It really has to cover as many of the criteria as possible. You have the academic one and non-academic one. They collectively should cover like at least half of the criteria mentioned before. So that's what I did, and back to you, Cecilia.
Thank you. That was great. And I will add um, non-academic sponsors, they might not be used to write these kind of reference letters, right? So they might write like, I don't know, yay, it was great, blah, blah, blah. I can help. Like, if you want to send them my contact, I can have like a 10 minutes conversation with them. I can help them editing the letter if they want. I have some reference letters that I can share with them, not with you, because you're not supposed to write your reference letters. So if you feel that your sponsor, even academics, you see the letter and it's like, it's not that good. How do I approach this? You can send them my contact and say, hey, Cecilia, I might help you, because if they already agree on writing a reference letter, they might have good intentions. I'm pretty sure that they have good intentions. Sometimes it's just they don't know how to do it. So I'm open. You can contact me and we can create like a plan to help them. Another thing that I will mention here is asking an academic or non-academic sponsor letter for an international. It's more than okay. You can have an international person writing a reference letter, but again, they might not use to the Canadian way. They might not be able to write a strong reference letter as someone that has been living here in Canada can do. So again, I can offer my help. I can offer my support or editing the letter. So if there's someone, I don't know, in any other country that can contact me, I will be happy also to assist with this. There was something else that you mentioned, letterhead. Yeah, I think we have most of this covered. Okay, so let's go to the next section, that is the CV and the list of publications. I'm not really going to tell you how to write your CV at this point. I think you should kind of know it. I will stay tailored to the scholarship that you're applying for. Again, go back to the selection criteria, really think what they are looking for and highlight the things that they will need: social involvement, research. So make it clear, use bullet points, explain what you have done if you want. When you are listing your publications, I've seen this so much, please highlight your name. If I see a publication that has 20 names and I have to track you down, it makes the life of the reviewer so hard. Just like highlight, you see, I put it bold, underline, and italics. Highlight your name so I can find you easier. And you can also use headings when you are doing like the list of publications, peer-reviewed journals, conferences, presentations. So this is very straightforward. I don't know if there's someone else that you want to add, Nawar, here, but I think a CV, a list of publications.
No, like back then I didn't have many publications yet. So what I did is the one course that I took that was a project based. So you end up with a report. Some people go to the extra step and publish it as a poster or as a short paper. I just, because I didn't have a research experience, like I just started my master's. So I just added my research in the publication list, like the report that I made. I had a previous degree in civil engineering and I just added my thesis. Again, it's not a publication, but I felt it won't hurt. But that's the case that I went with. If you are a PhD student, you probably have already some publications, so you don't need to do that. But in my case, there was a project that a research-based project that I added that I work on this report and thesis from a previous degree that I had back in Syria.
And I will go on that because many students, they feels like, I just started my master, I have nothing. Well, if you attended a conference, like just as an attendee, you can also add that. If you presented a poster in an internal student conference here in Concordia, you can add that. So really take everything that you have done. Like, for example, if you have awards, yes, I don't know, the entrance award from Concordia that every student has, who cares? It's an entrance award. Just put it. Dean's list. If you were in the Dean's list from your undergrad, your bachelor, put it. Any highlight, even if you think that is not a huge achievement, add it in your CV. Okay. We're gonna move to the frequently asked questions. That this is something that we've been receiving for the last months, and then we're gonna open the floor for everyone that want to ask any questions. So the first one, and maybe I didn't say it here in the presentation, where should I send my application? To your department by their internal deadline. So again, talk to your department and ask what is the internal deadline, okay? Can I write the application in French? Yes, you can write it in French or in English. The only thing that we always advise is consistency. So if you are writing the application in French, but your academic or your non-academic supervisor support letter is in French, no, what did I say? French and English. So don't mix them. If you know that one of your references can only speak English, then go to English, right? So not knowing French is not a deal breaker in this scholarship, because the only thing that they want from you is to be committed and to take French lessons. I do not have a non-academic sponsor. What do I do? So the foundation places importance on the candidates that has involvement in extracurricular activities. I do understand, and I think also the foundation understand, is like many of these extracurricular activities can also be in an academic setting, right? I don't know, student organizations or things like that. So the foundation is open for you to have someone writing your non-academic sponsor letter from an academic. So let's say a professor in Concordia, they will be okay with this, but they have to focus in your extracurricular activities. They cannot talk about, you cannot have two letters talking about your academic achievements, okay? So if your non-academic sponsor is not from an organization or an association or an enterprise, like, it's fine, but they do have to talk about extracurricular contributions. And what happened? I do not have an academic sponsor. What should I do? Well, your supervisor should be able to write you a support letter, right? And even if you haven't started working with them, they already agree on accepting you in the program. They already agree to be your mentors, so they might have a very high esteem of you. If that's still not possible, you can seek a former professor, another member from a different faculty, or maybe in your department. This, I put it here, I will make this highlight how important it is to maintain strong professional relationship. This horrible word that I always, networking, it works for this. You should not request a support letter from a colleague at your same level. So if you're a PhD, you cannot request a letter from a PhD student, right? Because we're really looking for individuals in a position to have the experience to evaluate you. Can I submit unofficial transcripts? I have said yes for the internal deadlines, but for the external deadline, we will need official, okay? And then I have been conducting research for the past 2 terms and have not been registered in any courses. So my transcripts do not show any grades. All transcripts from past and current students must be official for the external deadline, okay? A transcript not only reflects your grade, but also confirms that you're registered as a full-time student. Again, it can be in English, French, or Spanish. for the internal, and official are okay for external official. I'm an international student in Quebec and have been enrolled in my program since fall 2024. Am I eligible? Yes, because we will send the applications in July. So those 2 full-time semesters that you are required to be eligible for the program, they will count fall and winter. So in July, we're going to be in summer. So you already completed these 2 full-time semesters in a Quebec university. Is there a specific format for the letters of recommendations? As Nawar really highlighted, letters of support must be on the official letterhead of the organization, and they have to be signed by the sponsor with a mention of their title and contact information.